The Terminator. Sorry about that, but with Terminator Genisys literally days around the corner, I thought that before we got into reviewing that film, let's start with the film that started it all. The Terminator from 1984, starring Michael Biehn, Linda Hamilton, and of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. Despite involving time travel, the plot of the Terminator is a lot simpler than it might initially sound. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a cybernetic organism known as the Terminator that has been sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor for reasons that get explained, but I'm not going to spoil. For the five of you that don't already know why he gets sent to kill Sarah Connor, but he's going through the phone book and he is systematically killing every Sarah Connor he can find until he finds the right one for his purposes. But not only has this machine been sent back to the past to kill Sarah Connor, a man called Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, has been sent back in order to save her from this machine. That's the basic premise of the film. The rest of it I'm not going to spoil, even though you probably already know, but I want to give people that haven't started the franchise a fresh look into it when they, go in. And the reason for that is that the first half hour or so of this movie is essentially the audience wondering what's going on, or at least that's the way it was intended. Since then, the secret's out, Arnold Schwarzenegger's a robot. Everyone kind of knows that now, so I'm not afraid to spoil it, but everything else I'm not going to go into. And if you are among the few people that haven't actually experienced the Terminator franchise and know very little about it, you're going to be pleasantly surprised and excited, like I was when I first watched the film, when Kyle Reese explains to Sarah Connor what is going on for the first time, and it is a revelation that is definitely something to get into. The Terminator is a little odd because it's got this plot at the forefront of it, which is essentially a chase film. The Terminator has been sent back to kill Sarah Connor, and Kyle Reese protecting her, and they are trying to get away. This results in quite a few chase sequences, a few close shaves. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's done very well, and it's done with a lot of tension and suspense, so that's what elevates it above being just a simple, oh, it's a chase film. But in the background of this, there is the other plot, the idea that these people have been sent back for a reason I'm not going to spoil, but there is a lot going on behind it, which isn't gone into too much. A lot of what this film talks about is left to our imagination, except we see some bits, like in the beginning of the film, we see the future for the first time. It opens with this apocalypse, with skulls on the ground and machines walking around and lasers firing off, this horrible place with humans fighting machines, and that serves as the backdrop. We don't spend much time there. We revisit it later in the film and see more of what's going on, but it's never fully fleshed out. It's left as a sort of thing hanging, and it's left in many respects to our imagination. These scenes simply provide a foundation for us to, build on that ourselves. And I very much like the restraint that James Cameron decides to use in not showing everyone all this much of the future and leaving it, to our brains. And some may argue this is because the film had a small budget, it had a $6.5 million budget, which is, for a science fiction film, very low. So you might say, oh, we couldn't depict the future that well for very long with the money he's got, but then why didn't he depict it in Terminator 2 Judgment Day either that much? He didn't do it much there, so it's clearly a decision of his. It's not just the money. So the world and the universe of the Terminator are very unique. It's very enjoyable to hear about this future and to see what's going on in the present and to just indulge in what is going on. The film doesn't bog itself down in time travel philosophies and time travel physics and stuff like that. Why is that? Well, because the time travel in this film is broken, and it's the same for all of them. The timeline straight up doesn't work, so it doesn't talk about it. Just ignore it. Suspend your disbelief. Films ask you to do that all the time. Just let this story happen, because it's the only way it could have. It's absolutely broken. It's going to annoy some people, but the actual plot, regardless of some scientific differences, is pretty good as far as I'm concerned. James Cameron did a great job in picking Arnold Schwarzenegger for the role of the T-800. He's this huge, hulking mass, monotone voice, and he just pulls off this idea of a robot killer so well. And you might say, oh, well, that's not such a hard thing to do. It's like, yeah, but he does it better than anyone else could have. I saw a review of the film that said the genius of this casting decision was that it played to all of Arnold Schwarzenegger's weaknesses and turned them into strengths. And I absolutely agree with that. It's just the best role he's probably ever been in, because it doesn't matter that he's not that great at acting, because he needs to be wooden to be this character. It's the point, and that is such a great idea, and I'm glad he did it. Despite her awful hair, Sarah Connor, as well, played by Linda Hamilton, is a good character. Kyle Reese is also a good character, especially because of his intriguing backstory from the future. But they aren't the best. The film isn't the best written film I've ever seen. I've heard some other people say differently, but I really think it's relatively good in that regard. And considering the budget restraints, there are some problems with special effects. Some of them look really, really good, like they're never going to age. Some of them probably aged the day after they were made. Any of you have seen the film or not, I'm talking about the scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger is in the mirror and he's healing himself, he's pulling out his robotic or living eye and revealing the robotic eye underneath, and you see it from the front. It doesn't look like a real person. I understand that he had to get that shot because it's a good call on him. It's such an iconic shot, seeing this red eye underneath, but it doesn't look real. I get the budget restraints, I get all that, but you can't help but admit that that scene, it looks pretty awful. For the most part though, James Cameron uses restraint very well to create a believable story with $6 million, which is very well done for a film of this magnitude, as I've said, even though it is very simple. It's essentially a chase film. But it does that very, very well, and the climax of the film is incredible. The last half hour of this film is so good, and it reinforces the Terminator as this relentless killing machine that you've seen all the way through. It's just this thing, and the only thing it's going to do is it wants to kill Sarah Connor, and you absolutely believe that. Its only directive is to kill her, and you feel that completely. You feel like this thing only wants this girl to die, and that's what gives, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger already has presence. He gives the presence to the character, but that's what gives the Terminator this level of terror, and that turns the Terminator into almost a horror film at some points, though a fairly light one. I'm not going to go very far on comparing it to that. The action of this film is incredible. The music, I think, is great. Like, it's 80s cheese, techno, electric stuff, you know, that sort of thing. But I really think it's a great time. It's a great time. However, as James Cameron's first film after Piranha 2, The Spawning, so you know, his first real film, it does kind of show. It looks a little bit like Bubba's first film in some points. Like, some of the editing feels a little bit off. Like, you might not even notice it, to be fair, and I am nitpicking, by the way. You might not notice it, but it just feels a little bit jarring sometimes, the choices he makes. And then there are some scenes where you can clearly see through some of the laziness that went into it. For example, there's a scene where Sarah Connor screams, and she screams once and you hear it, it's like, oh, she screamed. But then the exact same scream is played again a second afterwards. It's like, that doesn't... Why did you do that? It's like, could you really not get another scream sound effect? Because it's really weird to hear it, and you can tell easily it's the exact same thing. I mean, maybe Linda Hamilton was gone at the time, but surely you could just get another woman to scream. I mean, they all sound the same. So overall, The Terminator is a great start to the franchise, and even though it feels pretty rough at the edges, this isn't a refined film, it's not very polished, it is still a very fun time, and it is a very effective thriller. And it all tops off in a fantastic climax that leaves you wanting more, which is a very good thing. So overall, I give The Terminator an 8 out of 10. A very good film. I suggest, if you haven't seen it already, go and see it, because the second one is even better, but we'll talk about that in my next review. Guys, thank you so much for watching. My review of Terminator 2 will be up very soon. Got to burn through them all before I see Terminator Genisys, as you know. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please like and favourite in the boxes below. You know what to click. And please, if you really liked it, subscribe. There's always going to be more, and subscribing helps me more than you know. But thanks again for watching.